Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Powerful Man Show. I am your host, Doug Holt, with my co-host, Tim, the Powerful Man Matthews. What's going on, brother?
I'm all right. To be honest, I didn't want to do this.
I know you didn't.
But,
You told me you didn't want to do this, and I said, okay,
it's all good.
Lord, here we go.
It's in moments like this when it's more important to take the action, even when you don't feel like doing it, right? Because you just got to keep hitting those singles and hitting the wins, and regardless of the emotional state that you are in. We all know that, Doug.
A wise man said that. Keep hitting the singles. Speaking of hitting singles, Tim, you have no idea what I wanted to talk about in this one. But when this episode goes out, we're a month in to 2020. And how are your goals going? Is the question.
Flying.
Yours.
Yeah, flying.
Flying. And that's what we want it to be, right? And I think what happens statistically is about this time, right? Gym memberships, the gym becomes empty again, right? Going to the spa, the health club, or wherever you go, you can now, if you're a regular gym goer, you can reclaim your gym, right? This is the notorious time of the year that most fitness people take off, right? Because it's just crazy. You have all the New Year's resolution people in there.
Yeah, I wondered why the spa was so busy. That's why. I totally didn't even think about it's the new year.
It's the new year. Wow. I guarantee within the next week to 2 weeks, Tim, of when this comes out, the spa will be right back to where it was in October or June or wherever, because the drop-off for New Year's resolutions, goals, and plans is gigantic, right? Most people have the same goal year after year after year and don't hit it. And there's a lot of reasons they don't hit these goals. And if you're one of those people listening that's not hitting their goal, whatever category it is, maybe it's your health, your wealth, your relationships, self, business, the 5 territories that we teach at The Powerful Man. If you're not hitting in one of those 5 areas and it's been repeating, now is the time to double down. Don't take your foot off the gas, throw your arms in the air and go, well, I'll do this again next year or whatever. Stop telling yourself the same old, Groundhog's Day story and double down on it. Double down on whatever it is. So if it's your health, hire a trainer, right? If you already got a trainer and you're still not showing up to the gym, pay him double. Pay him double every time you don't show up, right? Paint yourself into a corner. If it's the area of your wealth, right, you're not making as much money, you're going to do a side hustle, but it didn't work, hire a business coach, right? Double down, get a business partner, right? If it's in the area of relationship, right? Maybe it's you and your spouse and you're going to try to reconcile things. This year is going to be different, right? We're going to be connected and the kids. And if it's not working out, go through the activation method. Make it a priority for yourself, right? And in other areas, whatever area it is, this is the chance to double down. So if you're one of those people that's at the spa or the health club that Tim goes to and you stop showing up, now is the time to double down on every way possible, because getting over this little initial hump gets you to the way that's it's like a flywheel. Once you get that flywheel moving in the right direction continuously, give it a couple spins, it's going to become a habit. It becomes who you are.
Yeah, so true. I mean, the thing that comes to my mind as you're talking then, and when we speak with the guys when they apply for the program, I always ask them what they think they need, right? So what do you need, Doug, to be able to reconnect with your wife? What do you need to walk through the door and actually have your wife be pleased to see you and smile at you and look at you like she used to, instead of turning away, catching a glimpse just to see what mood you're in and, should she be walking on eggshells tonight? What do you need? And obviously, they usually say to me, well, Tim, if I knew what I needed, I wouldn't be speaking to you. Say, well, I kind of agree. But at the same time, the reason why I can disagree with that as well is because, we live in an age where there's more information available today than ever before. So it's definitely not the fact that there's not enough information out there to teach you how to reconnect with your wife, or, there definitely is. Obviously knowing where to look and being able to have the support and all the rest of it. So it usually comes down to 3 things that they tell me they need. I make a few suggestions. Obviously, I'm totally open to them disagreeing. And here's what they usually say. Well, the first thing they need is better tools, because obviously what they've tried in the past hasn't worked. And, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing expect a different result. Even if you do it with more inspiration, even if you do it with more energy, so what? If you're still going to do the same thing, you're not really going to change things. It's working hard instead of working smart, right?
Mm.
You're not getting the biggest ROI for your effort you could do if you had the right roadmap. So that's the first thing they tell me they need. The second thing they tell me they need is accountability. I think this is a big one for business owners because, business owners, typically, the men we work with anyway, Doug, they're at the top of their tree in every area of their life, really. In business, they're the guy that makes the decisions, the guy that people come to for the answer. They don't have anyone above them for the most part. It's the same in the household. They're the main breadwinner. They're the provider. They're usually pillars in the community. So they don't really have anyone around them, combined with the fact that everyone around them also sees them in that light, so they look like they've got the ideal life, right? So it's like, well, who can I turn to and ask to, help me to reconnect with my wife when, one, they see me in this particular light, but two, they might not be living it either. How often do guys really talk about the things that really matter? Maybe over a couple of beers, but for the most part, everyone's usually so obsessed with keeping up a particular front and looking a certain way. And this isn't anything against anyone. It's just, it's been society, right, over the past several decades. It's just what people do. But that then leads to the third thing of support. A guy said to me yesterday, Tim, I don't have any role models around me. I don't have any guys who, I've got a lot of business owner friends. I've got tons of them, but all of them are going through the same problem as me in the marriage. All of them, and he's in his second marriage, all of them are struggling to connect with the wife. They don't know how. We've all tried counseling. We've all tried therapy. We've all tried talking about it, and it hasn't worked. It's just driven us further apart. So I don't have any role models around me. So the third thing they need is support. They need to be in an environment with other men who have achieved what they're wanting to achieve. They've reconnected with the wife. They've figured out how to thrive in business as well as thrive personally, right? Because as we all know, everything's connected. That's why when you're struggling in your marriage, you struggle to focus in business, and it works the opposite way around. You just might not have experienced it yet. So yeah, the three big ones: the right tools, accountability, and support. It's like a recipe for success. It's like baking a cake, right? They're the three major ingredients. I think one of the main ingredients in baking a cake is like eggs and flour. You can put other things in there. You could even put the icing sugar and all the rest of it. But if you don't have the eggs and the flour, the cake's not going to rise. And in my opinion, as people are listening to this and, maybe they've started the new year with a new desire and a new impetus, right? This year is going to be different. And, they might even be seeing some changes, but they're probably running on willpower, right? And you can only do that for so long before it gets too tiring, because you've not addressed the root cause of what's really going on. And, you've just addressed the symptoms. Okay, well, the symptom is I'm arguing with my wife because I'm not finishing work on time. I'm telling her I'm going to be home for dinner, but I'm working late at the office. Right, I know, I'll just finish on time. So, right, get into habit, finishing at 5. But then they go home and they're stressed out because they've not learned how to better delegate or own the boundaries in the business. So they've still got the same workload, and they're giving themselves less time to do it, which means over the course of a few weeks, eventually it adds up and it breaks. And then they're back into the old cycle, and it's like, oh, God, well, I tried. And, kudos to you. I'm sure you did try, and I'm sure you tried your best, and I'm sure it took a lot of effort. And because of how much effort you knew it took you, the thought of doing that again is just like, oh, it's too much. It's too difficult. Then you can resign yourself to the fact that, maybe we're just not meant to be together. Maybe, which we've spoke about before, and that's not true. The fact is that if you don't overcome this, you'll just take it into another relationship. So, yeah, I mean, if you are struggling with your goals right now, you've reached maybe a plateau, or you're not experiencing the traction that you would like, you could be further ahead, then I would invite you to look at those three things. Do you have the right tools? Do you have proper accountability? Now, in order to have accountability, one of the reasons why it works so well for the men in our group is because they invest. They have skin in the game our program isn't cheap. It's not the most expensive, but it's not cheap. At the same time, you get what you pay for, right? So because there's an investment required, the power of that immediately means you have skin in the game. It might stretch you a little bit financially. I don't know. Maybe it won't. But either way, when you make a payment on something that's a considerable amount, you've got skin in the game, you're going to make it work. You value it. You respect it. You respect the advice. You respect the system. And when you've got tons of case studies and testimonials backing it up, it's inspiring. So accountability, having your friend, your buddy at work checking on you. I hate to just be burst the bubble. It's unlikely to work because neither of you have skin in the game. Neither of you, I imagine, have the knowledge of how to shift things when you're not on track. And one of the reasons I did a talk on this, Doug, yesterday in the Brotherhood, you've got to have guardrails in place, right? When a plane takes off, it always requires the most amount of energy to take off, right? To get off the ground. And then once it's in the air, if you're a passenger on the plane, you don't realize it's off course most of the time because it's got a GPS system. It's got a navigation system that keeps auto-correcting it. All you care is that you get off the plane at the destination that you thought you were going to. It's the same with the guys in the Brotherhood or the program or yourself. You've got to have the guardrails in place to keep course correcting you and give you the right insights to be able to move through things. Otherwise, it's just not going to work. And, the third thing I'd ask you to look at is, do I have the right support? Have I surrounded myself with the right people? I had a conversation with one of my good friends last night, Doug, who I won't mention his name. We had a very honest conversation because he was assessing who he wanted in his life in 2020. He's like, Tim, it's my birthday in January. And I'm thinking, holy crap, I don't have anyone in my life I can ring and say, it's my birthday. And they're going to say, yeah, I'm there. I don't have those relationships. And I'm not going to be telling the same story when I'm 40. He's 32. I'm not telling the same story at 40. So I'm really assessing who are the 5 people that I'm going to be pouring energy into this year. And are they going to be pouring it back into me? And do you know what? People ask me who my best friends are, Tim, and I say you. But quite frankly, I kind of feel like I don't know you. We don't really spend as much time together as I'd like to. There's a great outcome of that conversation. But point being is, it was a great example of who you surround yourself with, because that becomes your standard. So again, to reiterate, do you have the right tools? Do you have real accountability with people who are willing to tell you the reality of things and call you forward because they have been through it and successfully overcome it? And you have the right role models around you as well, the right support. Because usually if you have those 3 things and you are willing to take action, which I'm sure you are if you're listening to this, all of the guys we work with are, then usually you'll fly. You'll fly through any hurdle. I'm not saying it'll be perfect. Of course it won't be. There'll be times when you might struggle, but the point is, with those 3 things around you, you might knock you off the bike for a few minutes, an hour, 2 hours, but not 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, 5 weeks, 6 months. So kind of took over there, Doug, but
brilliant. It was brilliant. Not going to interrupt you when you're telling the truth, man. It's the way it is. When you pay attention, right? Skin in the game and making sure that you have those 3 things in place. I would add a 4th thing in there, which is kind of, I know you think it's because of who you are. It's obvious, but the first one is starting. Same thing with baking a cake. If you don't start the initiation about either buying the box of cake mix or doing your talking about getting the flour, the yeast, and everything else together, you're never going to do anything about it. And I'll also say, guys, if you find yourself in that situation where you started a New Year's resolution, you stopped, you can start every single day, right, over and restart. Same thing with your marriage, your buddy, same thing with his friends and friendships. The fact that he doesn't know you is his fault, not yours, right? He can start over and just keep working. I'll just throw this out there as an aside, Tim, and we talk about perseverance. One of my best friends was a guy that called me all the time. I never considered him one of my best friends at the time when it started, but he called me regularly and was just like, why does this guy keep calling me? And we developed a relationship over time. And today he's one of my best friends. And he was persistent, and be persistent with your goals too, and what you want to get out of that. So I think
You have other best friends?
What?
You have other best friends?
I was talking about you. Just because Amelia pays me doesn't mean that I don't love you. So one of the things, Tim, you break down those 3 things. I think it's important. 1, get started, right? Now the 3 things are.
The first one's the right tools. You've got to have a system. Like I said, the information is out there, right? There's more information than ever before, yet not all of it's accurate. Not all of it's going to work for you. You may have tried, I'll just use the example of your relationship. You may have tried counseling, you may have tried therapy, and you might have found that talking about it drives you further apart. That's what most of the guys find when they come to us. So that system doesn't work, right? You may have tried reading things, but then you may have struggled with the application of it, or you may have had questions about what it meant, or it's very difficult to, for me anyway, I find it very difficult to just read a book and then apply something without anyone to speak to about it, anyone that's experienced in that topic. Books can be great. They can definitely help with, boosting your mood and all the rest of it, but actually creating a radical shift in your life, for me anyway, they've not really proved to be the best. So the tools is the first thing, the system is absolutely key. And, success leaves clues, right? So for me, I like to choose a system that has been proven to work for people who are similar to me. People, my lifestyle, the lifestyle of a business owner, is a unique lifestyle. It's not typical of an executive, or it's just different. You'll know what it's like if you're a business owner. It's different. It just is. It's who you are. It's in your blood. It's different, right? So choosing a system that isn't designed for a business owner just wouldn't work for me. So you've got to have the right tools first and foremost. And then the second one, like I said, is accountability. And you've got to have accountability from somebody who has skin in the game, and also who has gone before you. Not who is walking beside you, which can help, but somebody who has gone before you, someone who's achieved and created the result that you want to create, because then they can point out the potential pitfalls. It's going to save you a lot of time, a lot of heartache, a lot of energy. I mean, you might not be bothered. You might want to learn the hard way. You might want to take years. And I don't know. I mean, for me personally, I think time is one of the most precious things a lot on this planet. But I think energy is more important. I value my energy over my time, because if I don't have the presence to enjoy my time, then what's the point? If I'm exhausted and burnt out, then what's the point having all the time? So, and that goes hand in hand. If you're trying things over and over, you're not going to have the energy to then connect with your wife or play with your kids, because you'll be exhausted from constantly trying different things. So accountability is huge, and family support. I used to lone wolf it, and I still do at times. A lot less so, because obviously I have Doug and Arthur and other people around me. So I don't really do it a great deal at all anymore. I can remember I used to do it all the time. I used to just get my head down and just grind it out and push, and I'd be so consumed by achieving this thing, whatever it was, and plowing through things that I wouldn't even take my head up and ask for help. I'd just be so busy trying to get through it, but it didn't work. It just didn't work. What are you smirking at? So, yeah, go on.
No, just go ahead. You're in a great flow. People can't see me smirking or listen to the podcast. I know you can, but I don't want to interrupt your flow because I know it bothers you.
Well, you are interrupting my flow by smirking at me.
I'm smirking because you started off this podcast saying you didn't want to do it, and you the whole time. It's awesome because you're so passionate about it, because you've seen this happen, and both of us have, but you see it happen to so many men. I think a lot of times, Tim, the guys that don't know you, they don't realize that this is the authentic you. Your desire to help these guys, to help men, to help people like me, to guys listening, to the men that come through the program is so intense. You did not want to do this podcast. So I talked you into doing it because I was like, we'll do it for like 10 minutes. Do a quick episode. But the idea of helping people has inspired you. And it's that's why I was smirking.
Oh, nice. Thank you. Yes, I used to be like a snowplow. That's the image that came to mind. I just plow through, and I'd rack up this more and more snow in front of my plow. I'd keep going, and it'd push harder and harder and harder and harder. But having the right support around you can alleviate so much of the burden when you're able to be around other men that are sharing their struggles or sharing their wins. Now, because sometimes if you don't believe in yourself, you've got to borrow belief from people who do believe in you, or even people who believe in themselves, So you can really make it easy on yourself. You really can. And when I think about how much easier it can be, with a program like ours, let's say, because I'm most familiar with that, it's just crazy to consider that people wouldn't do it, And I don't mean to say that to anyone listening that may have been thinking about it and hasn't pulled the trigger yet. It's just, when you know what's available in Pandora's box and you open it, it's just crazy to think that you wouldn't open it, because it's, once you actually just figure out what the code is for that lock and you're given it and you open it and all these things that are there, it's just another world. It really is. And, I don't know what stories are going on in people's heads about why they don't take action, whether it's I don't have the time, or it's the money, or what will they say about me? I admit I've got a problem, or it's going to be scary, or I don't know. Maybe it's all of those things. But, it's really got nothing to do with any of those things. Definitely not money, because if their kids were in a burning building and they had to get some, let's say, $5,000 together, to save their kids, they'd do it, right? Cost of opportunity. What's it costing them in the business to operate at 50% of what they're capable of? How much more money could they make? Or even how much more time could they have if they just led the company more efficiently? They get so much more back, reconnecting with their wife. Priceless. From a logical standpoint, could save hundreds of thousands in a divorce. The impact that has on the kids. That's the real legacy, how you are as a father, and the values and virtues you pass on to your children is the legacy. It's not the house that you leave, or the car, or the generational wealth. All that's great, but if you don't leave anything alongside that, the generational wealth will just wither away. So there's nothing wrong with you reaching out asking for help. It doesn't say anything about you if you raise your hand and you join a program like this. In fact, it does. It says you're a very courageous guy, because a lot of people would take the easier route and not do it because it's easier to just stay comfortable. But if you're listening to this, I imagine that you're stalling on your resolutions, which, that's another topic. It just, anyway. But, just do something different. Don't rely on willpower. You've only got so much amount of willpower, don't you? I think what do they say? It's like a battery, isn't it? Every decision you make, it's like decision fatigue. It just goes and goes and goes and goes. You don't have to rally the troops every day, to just get through the day. It doesn't have to be that way. It can be so much easier, but you've got to try something different and try something that's proven for a guy like you.
Well said. Well said. Well, gentlemen, that's a wrap for this episode of the Powerful Man Show. As always, if this resonates with you and you want to learn more about the Alpha Reset, which is a retreat for business owners just like yourselves, go over to thealphareset.com. That's thealphareset.com, where you can get a training from Tim, the Powerful Man Matthews himself, the one and only, on the spot. That's it for us, guys. Have an amazing week, and we'll see you next time on the Powerful Man Show.